play against every year, and I just think the Big 12 this year is a lot more wide open than it has been in the past. So teams like West Virginia and Oklahoma State, this could be a big year for Oklahoma State. I think this is West Virginia's conference to take, but I think Oklahoma State might be there as well.
Got to improve their defense. I think if they have a chance, the Pokes right now, they can't expect to score 40 or 50 points every single game and try to find a way to win if that defense continues to struggle the way they have. I think that's going to be their biggest bugaboo right now. They can't rely on their offense for all their success right now. Eventually, that defense has got to come forward and make some plays. If they don't, I think they're going to be, they're going to be a contender, but they just won't be able to get all the way there.
See, there we go again. See, it's like there's that delay there, and it sounds like you're continuing to talk. So let's get back into the Urban Meyer show, if you will, the Urban Meyer crisis, we tossed around a couple titles, Rick and I did, on today's show, but we landed on the Urban crisis. Former Ohio State wide receiver, though, Zach Smith, does not believe that he should have warranted his firing last Monday. Here it kind of goes back to what did Urban Meyer know? Okay, 1 day before, 1 week before the media day, he's fired. Why? And if your coach is fired, you certainly know the reason why. So on the media day, I think Rick, he just lied, plain and simple lied. And you talked about his interview. He made it clear that when he did his interviews with various media outlets for the first time since he was fired, Smith also made it clear that he doesn't hold anything against Urban Meyer. Go ahead, Rick.
Yeah, it's certainly not a crime to lie to the media the way Urban Meyer did. It's not a great look, but it's also not a crime. And we don't know all the behind-the-scenes stuff that's going on. Maybe in the past all this stuff came out and Urban Meyer knew what was going on. Maybe Urban talked with him and said, if this stuff keeps happening, I'm going to fire you, or there's going to be some type of consequence. And maybe it happened again, and that's why he got fired. Urban kept his word. So, we don't know until the investigation comes out of what's been going on, what's been said behind closed doors, how this stuff's been handled internally. But this could be the case where Urban Meyer actually did sit down with Zach Smith and say, this stuff keeps going on, I'm going to have to let you go. And maybe he has reported the stuff up the chain, and that's the agreement everybody came to. And it happened again. So July 23rd, Zach Smith was let go based off of, Urban Meyer keeping his word. So we just don't know until the investigation happens. And there's not really much we can speculate, but without the evidence and drawing our own conclusions, this is where we're at.
Well, it was Meyer. Well, it was Meyer, but it was Smith's supervisor who ultimately made the decision to terminate Smith's employment as Ohio State's receivers coach. Smith remains adamant that Meyer was placed on paid administrative leave on Wednesday as the university launched the investigation into his knowledge and handling of domestic allegations against Smith that Meyer shouldn't lose his job. Matt?
Again, I think we need to be, very careful with this. As long as this investigation is going to take, I don't think they can get it done in just the sparing of weeks before the season. I think Urban Meyer will be the coach the entire year. I think the question is, will he be the coach when we get to 2019?
So here's what Smith said in an interview with ESPN. I'd be heartbroken for Ohio State, for the players, for him and his family, because it's not right, referring to the firing of Urban Meyer. If he loses his job, that's just flat wrong. We talked a little bit earlier on the show, Rick, about Zach Smith and how he looked in this interview. Okay, so we believe that he's an abuser. But he says it would be flat wrong to fire Urban Meyer.
Well, how much do we want to take stock into his word? We don't know what Urban knew and what really got reported and what didn't, how things were handled from 2000 5 when some of the stuff actually started coming up, all the way up until now. So Urban's had the problems in the past. It's the way he handled situations at Florida, and it's carried over to Ohio State. And sometimes, and I don't know if it's the right thing to say, but I'm just going to say it anyway. It's sometimes it seems like he puts program wins and success above discipline and how he handles his program, and it's kind of just been bad decision after bad decision. So, but we're going to see what the investigation turns up, and I'm with Matt. I mean, everybody can speculate what's going to happen, but maybe we should just hold off until the investigation reveals its findings.
So do we believe that? Go ahead, Matt. Go ahead.
It's flat wrong. That's based on his stuff as a coach, as a football coach, success and all that stuff. That has nothing to do with off-the-field things. So I think that was a very poor comment on Zach Smith's part to say that. But I think it was mainly based on win-loss record and not what he did, his actions off the field with some of these incidents and how he's handled them in the past, which I think really tried to throw dirt over something and try to cover it up again, which I don't think was in the greatest taste.
Well, Urban Meyer is in the hot seat because he allegedly, we'll say, covered up the abuse allegations. Now, again, going to Zach Smith's interview, said that Meyer was aware of allegations that were made against him in 2015 when his ex-wife, Courtney Smith, told Powell police that a domestic incident had happened last night at her home, and she has been a victim and was sustained physical abuse. Zach said repeatedly on Friday, however, that he never committed domestic abuse. Maybe his definition of domestic abuse and our definition of domestic abuse, Rick, are two different things. But if there was a domestic incident, I'm quoting here, that a domestic incident happened last night at her home, and she had been a victim and sustained physical abuse by the suspect. Now, that's in the police report, but there was no arrest made. So if the police saw physical injury, but they didn't see enough there to make an arrest, rather make it more of a civil issue, maybe in Smith's mind, he didn't commit domestic violence. Just a thought. Rick?
Well, I mean, there's text messages released now from Courtney Smith of her and Zach where he actually admits it and tries to apologize to her over text messages. So I don't know the circumstances why he wasn't arrested for abuse or whatever went on, but it's like we talked about at the very beginning of the show. If you have an employee that's been, now go ahead, Tom.
No, I was just going to say, you're referring to the text. Here's a text that Zach Smith read from Urban Meyer. He looked at me and said, "I swear to God, Zach, if I find out you hit her, you're done. You're flat done. You're done. You're fired." That's from Urban Meyer to Zach, according to Zach Smith. And that sounds like he knew about it to me. Go ahead.
Yeah, definitely. And this could have been, like I said, a meeting between them two at some point, and Urban said, "Look, if this happens again, you're going to be fired." And then we saw it had to take place on July 23rd. So maybe he did do everything right. He just lied to the media about it, and that's what this is all about. I don't know, but that's not a good look. It's not a crime, but not a good look, lying to the media. Maybe during the Big Ten media days, if he would just said, "Yeah, I knew about this, and I reported it up the chain," and that's all he had to say, maybe we're not dedicating a whole show to the situation right now. So, yeah, I don't know. It's a tough situation. It's a tough call.
Matt, any final thoughts on Urban Meyer before we wrap it up and put a bow on it today?
Well, I think right now it shouldn't be a wake-up call to Urban Meyer. It should be a wake-up call to Ohio State, because these incidents have happened way too often since the start of the 21st century, and they need to start gaining some institutional control. I'd say right now that shines badly on the president, that shines badly on the athletic director, and everyone in that school right now until they get their head straight and start getting some control of the program. That seems to me like lack of institutional control. That definition applies to Ohio State right now.
Because I can't help but draw the lines when you look 365 feet high. We look at Urban Meyer. we look at Sean Miller. We look at Sandusky and Penn State issue. We look at Louisville Cardinals and Rick Pitino. We look at coaches who use their school phone to get hookers. We look at Michigan State. Michigan State. And the issue with the pedophile issues there. We look at all of these things 365 feet high. There is a problem in our colleges today. Rick, go ahead.
Yeah, well, I don't know how to really put it. I just never really thought about it, but a lot of these programs, and they just might put program success above the discipline and the issues going on, and now society has changed, and some of these institutions they're going to have to change with it. 'Cause like I said, society anymore is hypersensitive to a lot of these issues now, and some of these colleges and their administrations are going to have to catch up.
Rick, is there a problem in the colleges today? I mean, Matt, I'm sorry.
Well, there's still an issue, and this has been the issue for many years, even during the Bowden eras of Florida State with all the problem players they had, during the Tom Osborne years in Nebraska. Fortunately, this is a never-ending story problem, and I just don't see where there is, with all the money and the revenue that keeps coming in, there's going to be a situation where someone puts their foot down, says enough's enough, or if someone tries to put their foot down, like what at Penn State, they're immediately going to have people saying, well, they were overreacting and stuff like that. So it's a no-win situation for the NCAA, whether they act upon something or they don't act upon something. The same goes for the school.
All right, guys. Go on it. This has been our special preview, if you will, of Breaking Rank. We broke down the top 25 colleges, coaches poll. We talked a lot about Urban Meyer. Thank you, Matthew Embry, for jumping on. I know you wear a couple hats with the Show Talk Racing with us and college football in Notre Dame. Rick-riggin, executive producer. Guys, we'll go around the horn. Thumbs up or thumbs down? Dun, dun, dun. Are we okay? Are we positive? Are we feeling positive energy from the Indianapolis Colts camp at Grant Park in Westfield? Thumbs up or thumbs down?
Thumbs down.
Thumbs down. All right, Matt. Thumbs up, thumbs down.
If you're expecting them to make the playoffs, thumbs down. If you're expecting improvement from last year, thumbs up.
I have to go with Matt. Thumbs up. I think we're going to see a big improvement from last year, and we'll go from there. Matt, where can people find you working in Massachusetts?
That division's too tough.
Again, Twitter, you find a lot of stuff coming up for me, especially fans of sprint car racing. Their big event, the Knoxville Nationals, the 360 National Finals are tonight. The 410s get underway on Wednesday, so a lot of fun there in Iowa. And then, obviously, with silly season, IndyCar silly season picking up, follow me at Popular Oatmeal. I have a few synopsises there. And like I said, for all of our information on Notre Dame coverage, check out WSBTradio.com and check out our podcast on Weekday Sports Beat with Darren Pritchett, Eric Hansen, and Sean Stiers. They have all the stuff you need for all the information as we draw closer and closer to Notre Dame, Michigan on September the 2nd.
All right. Thank you, Matt. You have yourself a good weekend. We'll talk with you soon.
Thanks, Matt.
Anytime, Tom.
Good stuff.
Good stuff. Rick-riggin, our executive producer, going to be the host of Breaking Rank, coming back August 22nd at 8 o'clock. Final thoughts on Breaking Rank and what can people expect when they tune in to us on Wednesday night?
Well, you can expect to hear my fat face as I ramble on about college football and who deserves to be in the top 25 and who deserves to be in the playoff as the season rolls, as the playoff rankings, as playoff rankings roll around. Being a little distracted here by the wildlife, like I said at the beginning of the show. But breaking down the big matchups of the week before and the week after, you can find me at Riggin_Rick on Twitter. Find me here on The Balance. You can find me hosting Breaking Rank and my articles on IURish.com.
All right, buddy. We look forward to talking with you soon and being a part of Breaking Rank here on the Balance Radio Network. My name is Tom-Marquis, El Presidente. Thanks for joining us today. Remember, the